diploma in music. And I'm going to do a song by the name Fully Known. The artist is Torren Wells. Enjoy. It's so unusual, it's frightening. You see right through the mess inside me, but you pull me out to pull me in and tell me I could start again, and I don't have to keep on hiding. So like you to keep pursuing, so like me to go astray. But you, Lord, you got my heart with the truth, the kind of love that's bulletproof, and I don't have to keep on hiding. I fully know and loved by God. You won't let go, no matter what I do. It's not one or the other. It's hard truth and ridiculous grace to be known, fully known, and loved by you. I fully know and loved by you. Fully known by you, Jesus. Thank you, God, for your love. I'm grateful for your mercy. I'm fully known. Deep, how wide is your love? And I can't explain the reasons why you give me so much. Deep, how wide is your love? And I can't explain the reasons why you love me so much. Fully know. I know the end. It's hard truth and ridiculous grace to be known. Fully know you. I fully know. I do. The next song I'm going to do is by the name Il est où le bonheur. This song is by a French artist whose name is Christopher Maé. He's asking himself at the old age, where is joy? Having done everything, he got married, he made kids, he did his businesses and every project, but still he feels like where is joy? And now in my version, I'm saying the joy could all have always been there, but you're not seeing it because of something hindering you from seeing the joy. And then I conclude by saying that the joy is in Jesus Christ. bonheur, il est où? Il est où? Il est là, le bonheur, il est là. Le bonheur, il est là. Il est là. Iko wapi furaha, iko wapi? Iko wapi furaha, iko wapi? Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Yesu, iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Iko hapa, niko na pesa na marafiki, ninangoja furaha. Nimefanya muziki na kuchora, nilijaribu, nimefanya kazi ninazopenda, vile niwezavyo, kupiga sherehe na kujenga mwili. Natumai kufurahi, lakini kunazo siku nyingi marafiki wananitoka, nyakati hizi za upweke, kama Elia kichakani, nikicheki kuume na kushoto, nione giza tu, bado nitayainua macho yangu, nitazame Yahweh. Il est où le bonheur, il est où? Il est où le bonheur, il est où? Il est où? Il est là le bonheur, il est là. Là le bonheur, il est là. Oh. Iko wapi furaha, iko wapi? Iko hapa kwake Yesu. Anayo faida gani kwa kazi zake zote azifanyazo chini ya jua, bila kumcha Mungu? Vizazi huenda, vizazi huja, nayo dunia hudumu. Utufundishe kuhesabu siku zetu na moyo wa hekima. Kweli nuru ni tamu, tena ni jambo la kupendeza, macho yetu kutazama jua na kuishi miaka mingi, tuifurahie yote, lakini tuzikumbuke siku za giza hizo zijazo. Tuwapita njia duniani, nitayainua macho yangu. Le bonheur, il est où? Il est où? Il est là, le bonheur, il est là. Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Oh, Yesu, iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Yesu, c'est une bouchure bonheur. Crie pas trop fort d'ailleurs, tu risques de l'éteindre. On veut le bonheur, oui, on le veut, tout le monde veut l'atteindre. Mais il fait pas de bruit le bonheur, il fait pas de bruit, non, il n'en fait pas. C'est quoi le bonheur, oui, car c'est souvent très comme ce qu'il était là. Il est où le bonheur, il est où? Il est où le bonheur, il est où? Il est où? Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Can you sing with me? Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Yesu tena. Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Iko hapa furaha, iko hapa. Jesus. God bless you. The joy has been there because we have Jesus Christ.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup, Gloire. C'est musique magnifique. Please, let's appreciate Gloire one more time, please. Thank you. That marks the opening of the second session. At this juncture, I would like to invite Joshua Muridi to take us through the other session and invite our next presenter.
Good evening, everyone. So I believe that you are having a nice time and a very, very top performance by our friend. It's a good piece, or rather they are good pieces. So at this juncture, I'll hand over, ndio nisiwachoshe sana, and the next, for the better part of our conference, Mrs. Or Miss Lucy Mushoki will take over from here. And please, let's keep time for those who are presenting, because we have lined up a few presentations before we call it a conference. Karibu, Lucy.
Before Lucy, just an announcement. I have some sheet for you to sign for afternoon sessions. Please make sure you sign and tell those that are outside to come for these sessions so they can sign from here. Okay, thank you. Karibu, Lucy.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 13th International Research Conference for the School of Music and Media. And we'll be having this theme of mainstreaming music, film, media, and other performing arts for social development. I'd like to introduce you to Katie Jacqueline Maina, who will be our first presenter. She is a student at Kabarak University pursuing a master's degree in music composition. She is a music composer, researcher, and performer. She has created short sight reading exercises and solo piece for violin, engagement for string ensembles, and choral work for performance in church and the Kenya Music Festival. She is also a vocalist and violinist and has skills in playing the Wandindi and Ishiriri fiddles from Kikuyu and Bukusu communities respectively, as well as Litungu from Bukusu. As a researcher, she is interested in the fusion of indigenous music, art, and popular genres. Kindly, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Katie Jacqueline Maina. Let's clap for her. Welcome, welcome.
Sean, I hope you can hear.
Right, we can hear you. Proceed.
Opportunity to make my presentation, which is titled Transcending Spatial Temporal Boundaries Through Intercultural Musical Dialogue. I will begin my presentation by showing you some clips, some pictures, and a video clip.
Now you are officially released.
Even though Mandela alikuwa na feel. Thank you so much. Sana Mheshimiwa Sanko.
We have kept our word, sir. And we are not keeping it for Eric. We are actually keeping it for the artists, visual and performing artists in the...
So the photos that you can see in the video clip were taken on 9th February 2022, and the rest were taken in 2 different occasions that precede these incidents. Eric Omondi pitched camp outside the Kenyan parliamentary buildings in Nairobi, where he set up a glass booth, as you can see. And the glass booth has some writings, play 75% Kenyan. Using this incident, Omondi was requesting the Kenyan government to create a policy that impels the media to give Kenyan content 75% airplay as a way of promoting local artists and their works. The current policy calls for 40%, and it was expected to rise to 60%, but the 60% policy has yet to be implemented. I presume this is one of the factors that led Omondi to demonstrate. The event sparked several debates on the responsibilities of various players in the country's creative scene, particularly in the music arena. The discussions led to questions on the influence of foreign art, their impact, and so on, bearing in mind that the Kenyan music scene has always experienced foreign influences since it flourished in Nairobi in the early 20th century. However, global, technological, and political aspects continuously impact the growth or decline of Kenyan music performances. Therefore, different stakeholders in the industry take personal initiatives to promote Kenyan content amidst all these influences. Considering that, I set out to explore what different stakeholders in the industry do to elevate Kenyan music. I recognize that individual creators, government and non-governmental institutions, and public spaces like cafes and restaurants take part in elevating the performance of local styles. I also take into account that these acts are taking place in the current world where the local and the global intersect. Therefore, I explored how artists create works that blur the spatial and temporal boundaries to relate with individuals of different ages and cultures and to obtain new audience in order to promote their work.
The country.
So the study is guided by communication accommodation theory by Howard Giles. It is a qualitative, multiple case research. I purposefully sampled 3 musicians, 1 stakeholder from a non-profit organization, 1 in a government establishment, and 1 from a public spot. And to explore how boundaries are blurred, I attended 1 concert that displayed these diverse urban sounds. In the concert, 2 audience members were randomly sampled to corroborate the information. I will take you back to Eric Omondi's performative act. The act first shows that there are several players in the industry responsible for promoting Kenyan music, the government and the practitioners. So apart from the glass booth incident, Omondi also included performance of Kenyan songs as a way of exhibiting the nation's talent outside the parliament. I will play a section of it. So through acting and singing, Omondi manages to promote Kenyan artists and their works on stage. This strategy of including works by other artists is used by musicians in Nairobi as they attempt to elevate their music. So it's used by upcoming artists or the artists who perform alternative music, which is not normally played by mainstream media. So Ajo, who is an upcoming artist based in Nairobi, has applied that strategy in his performance. I attended one of his concerts, which was organized by a non-profit organization called Keep It Kenyan, or Kike. And in this show, Ajo included a song called Nakufa by Okello Max, a famous Afropop musician in Kenya. And Ajo said that Nakufa blended well with his song called Ye. The audience enjoyed the familiar song Nakufa, which made them also vibe to Ajo's familiar rumba groove, therefore enjoying the new music by Ajo. We'll play Nakufa and Ajo's song.
Mula mimi na kufa. Rapper, super talented. Nzambe, rapper na rapia. Maisha ni tamu alafu muziki yeah.
So Joth said that these songs, as you have heard, they have a similar rumba groove. And that's how it blended well, and the audience enjoyed Joth's performance, even though it was a new song that he presented. Then Juma Tutu, who is an established musician, performs fusion music, also applies that strategy since his music is considered alternative. Compared to mainstream music, other styles have a small audience, as Oyugi 2012 notes. Juma's Swahili jazz style is an amalgam of American jazz, traditional music from the Mijikenda communities. So the traditional music that he include Mwanzele and Chakacha. He also includes popular styles from the Kenyan coastal region, like Taarab and Bango, which are also Zilizopendwa music. As you know, Zilizopendwa are Kenyan oldies. And here is an example of Swahili jazz by Juma Tutu.
Madaraka
So you can find these clips and others on YouTube. And in each stage, Juma Tutu considers the taste of the audience and plays genres that suit them. And within now that performance, he includes some of his songs so that the audience can relate. By doing that, he sustains his musical career and promotes his style. I previously mentioned Keep It Kenyan, Kike, the establishment that organized Ajo's show. Kike is a space where Kenyan talent is identified, nurtured, and packed for commercialization purposes. Since Kike does not own a physical platform, nor does it have sponsors, it collaborates with cafes, clubs, and restaurants in Kenya to give artists a venue. They also sell affordable tickets to remunerate artists, sustain their operations, and accommodate audience finances. They advertise their shows among other Kenyan concerts online. You can see a poster from Kike. And Kike's partnership with restaurants accentuates public spots as stakeholders in the industry. Gecko Cafe in Nairobi is known for supporting Kenyan musicians by giving them a performance space and remunerating them. Gecko concerts are completely free, and the musicians are unrestricted. That means that they can perform their music regardless of whether it is mainstream or alternative. Matteo Sfinato, Gecko's owner, mentioned that the artists who play at the cafe perform their original works and are paid. Usually, musicians book a spot and the organizers designate a date and time for their performance according to the type of music and the theme of that day. The artists are from Nairobi, other regions in Kenya, and other places outside the country, including other African countries, countries in Europe, America, and so on. Therefore, the music and the audience are diverse, and the shows are also advertised online. You can see an advertisement, Nomads, Thursday, June 23rd. That's an advertisement by Gecko Cafe. Apart from creating policies, now the government, through organizations like the Permanent Presidential Music Commission, known as PPMC, offers platforms for singers to record their music and perform it. During the recording period, artists are given transport and food allowances for sustenance, and they are remunerated after their performance. PPMC advertises these performances and records online, thereby attracting listeners in the country and externally. The institution also nurtures talent by organizing free camps for young upcoming artists. If you can see one advertisement, Auditions Nairobi, this is by PPMC for the youth talent. So the young upcoming musicians are they learn how to perform, how to compose, how to collaborate. They learn marketing skills in that camp. And those who graduate from that are given an opportunity to record their first songs without charges. So musicians in Nairobi try to create and perform works that connect to the different rhythms present in the city. As presented earlier, artists like Ajo and Juma incorporate cover songs in their performance set to interact with the audience. Aside from that, the two have unique styles that attract certain listeners. Ajo's style is a combination of various genres from Africa. You had rumba, he performs rumba, but he also incorporates other styles like Afro beats in his music. So he refers to his style as Afro music because of all these genres from different countries in Africa. Juma Tutu's styles, as previously cited, is influenced by jazz and indigenous music genres and early and current popular styles. So he dialogues between the rural, the urban, the former, and the current. Another musician called Michael Migra tries to connect the rural and the urban localities through his music. His style is influenced by Luo, his native ethnic group, and the urban culture where he spent most of his childhood and adult life. He calls his style Afro-Luo. Afro signifies his African life in Nairobi, which is an African city, and the Luo represents his native culture. So Michael sings and raps in Sheng, a hybrid, street language in Kenya. He also sings in English, Kiswahili, and Luo languages. And here is a snippet of his performance at Gecko Cafe. So by fusing these elements, Michael evokes nostalgia to the city audience by reconnecting them to their roots. He also connects the rural audience to city music. That constant movement and flow of cultural products between the rural and the urban, as displayed by Michael, expresses the city's openness, since geographical lines are blurred, and such fluidity is presented in so many performance spaces in Nairobi. For instance, on January 15th, 2023, I went to a concert at Alliance Francaise in Nairobi. The event included solo musicians, bands, and choirs that have been in the industry since the late 1990s to date, and they had the recently established artists. If you can see the advertisement for that concert, it features a lot of musicians. We have Amani Baya, Idi Achieng, Makadem, Fadhili Tulia, Papi Odek, Chris Adwar, Waire, Frasha, all those musicians. So artists who performed, I've mentioned Frasha and Waire, who are some of the precursors of current urban styles in Kenya. If you know Frasha and Waire, you know the styles that they perform and that they popularized in Kenya. And the two performed a few of their famous songs and managed to trigger the listeners' memories and induce nostalgia, since these works had been released in the early 2000s, a period where the current urban sound was being established. Contemporary Swahili and Luo Benga musicians also performed in the show. Zilizopendwa styles were also included, and they were performed by musicians like Kayamba Africa. You know, Kayamba Africa, vocal group that performs ethnic genres from several Kenyan communities. And in this show, they also performed Gospel Mugithi from the Kikuyu community. Other styles that were performed were Kenyan and American R&B, Kenyan reggae, both secular and gospel, choral arrangements of Luya traditional song was performed by Redforth, and we had traditional and contemporary drum music. It was played at that event. So we had a female band that played the drums, chakacha beats, and accompanied by a contemporary drum set. And we also had a DJ who performed in between the sets, where he played common gospel and secular songs from Africa, Europe, and American continents. And considering that all these styles were appreciated by the audience, in spite of their race and ethnic group or age, communication between the artist and listeners was achieved. The show also promoted and created demand for Kenyan music, particularly the urban sound, by presenting its diversity. One of the audience members said, "It is like going for a family cookout where you're getting to know different relatives that you've never met. So you're learning new skills and new sounds, basically." Then another one added that these artists came together in one stage, speaking one language, which is music, but speaking it in a different way. The way they were bringing in the Kenyan culture in one stage, it was so rich. We had the Waswahili, Wajaluo, we had reggae, but Swahili reggae, we had Kiluya. At the end of the day, they were speaking the Kenyan language. So through the discussion, it is clear that there are several players in the Kenyan music scene that aid in promoting and creating demand for local talent through various methods. Also, musicians in Nairobi managed to negotiate various musical, cultural, geographical, and temporal boundaries to converse and appeal to a diverse audience. Therefore, temporal and spatial boundaries are blurred, and intercultural music dialogue takes place where all these participants in their diversity conciliate. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Miss Katie Jacqueline, for the wonderful presentation. Thank you so much. Our next presentation is from our own students, Faith and Calvin. Miss Faith Jeptanuet is a dedicated communicator and a lifelong enthusiast of knowledge acquisition. She obtained her diploma in public relations from Kabarak University, which served a pivotal point in honing her proficiency in effective communication. Faith is a blogger who finds immense joy in articulating her thoughts and creativity through medium of words. She is also a dancer and finds joy in expressing herself through the art of movement. She is a member of Kabarak University Choir. She is currently pursuing a bachelor degree in mass communication as a fourth-year student at Kabarak University. They'll be presenting that paper with Mr. Calvin Kenyatta, who is a final year student pursuing a bachelor degree in mass communication at Kabarak University. Calvin stands out as a true creative. His innovative ideas and unique perspective breathe life into his work, making him a noteworthy presence in ever-evolving world of media. Whether it is crafting compelling narrative, designing captivating visuals, or engaging audience with his content, Calvin consistently pushes the boundaries of creativity. He is also an influencer and visual voyager who has explored the world of visual storytelling to capture moments and convey stories through the art of imagery and brings narrative to life. As a critical thinker, he has been a valuable asset in problem solving and decision-making scenarios. Together, he will be co-presenting a paper with Faith Jeptanuet titled Impact of Investigative Journalism in Society, an Analysis of Selected Cases. Karibuni.
As Faith presents, I know there are presenters who could have questions. Please save your questions after 2-3 presentations. We are going to have a session for Q&A.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, or is it evening? First of all, we're going to start this session. I need all of you to be lively. I know it's in the afternoon, and we've been waiting for this time, but it's finally here. And this is how I'm going to start. Journalism is printing what does not want to be printed. Or rather, journalism is printing what someone else doesn't want to be printed. Everything else is public relations. Today, I stand in front of you to illuminate a very powerful force in society, something that has the ability to change governments, rewrite history, and ignite critical thinking in each and every one of the society. Our topic, the impact of investigative journalism in society, an analysis of selected cases on the impact of investigative journalism in society. My able companion, together with me, did this paper. Investigative journalism goes way back. It has a huge history. And over the years, there have been many major cases which brought to light the importance of investigative journalism in society. Dating back to the 1970s, where we have the Watergate scandal in the USA. That was one of the cases where it brought to light the importance of investigative journalism. And just to start us off, this paper, we have specific objectives, and we aim to ascertain the role of media in democracy. You know, investigative journalism is like the cornerstone of democracy. It is what supports a healthy democracy, and without it, we will be in darkness. Another aim is to find the implications of investigative journalism, both on society and the journalist, him or herself, and to find out the ethical challenges faced by journalists in investigative journalism.
I will take you through the impact of investigative journalism, just the scale. Investigative journalism is a powerful tool to hold those in powerful position accountable. And investigative journalism focuses on various factors such as political corruption, environmental degradation, social injustice. It shares public outrage on legal action and policy reforms, and it also acts as a watchdog role for the society, illuminating society with knowledge on various aspects. So, we're going through I'll also take you through the literature review. And I will give an overview of 5 cases, which is the Watergate scandal, the Spotlight investigation. We also have the Mara Heist, the local cases. The Mara Heist, the Goldenberg scandal, and Gun Galore. So I will start with the Watergate scandal. This happened in 1972, where there was, in 1972, there was an iconic revelation by journalist Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. He exposed President Richard Nixon in the involvement of breaking in Democratic Party headquarters located in Watergate Hotel in US. And this happened, the aftermath of this, of the Watergate scandal, in 1974, Richard Nixon, President Richard Nixon was forced to resign as a result of getting involved in a burglary. Yeah, sorry. The second one is Spotlight investigation. It happened in 2002. A group of 5 journalists investigated a scandal that involved various Catholic priests who were involved in sexual abuse. The Mara Heist scandal. This scandal involved misappropriation of funds at Masai Mara University. It was investigated by Citizen TV, and there was a whistleblower known as Spencer Sankale who came forward and he came forward with some of the audio recordings that ranged for a span of 2 years. They demonstrated investigative journalism has a power to expose corruption at the highest level, and it led to the management and leadership changes in the university. The Goldenberg scandal. The Goldenberg scandal involved the Goldenberg International Limited, which was owned by Kamlesh Patni, and together with they defrauded the Kenyan states of millions. They defrauded Kenya. They defrauded the Kenyan state of millions in subsidies. They first exposed, this was first exposed by Peter Waruture, who was a business editor. The next one is Gangalo. The Gangalo investigation was done by Purity Mwambia. It exposed rogue police officers hiring police gears, including guns and uniforms. This aired in Citizen TV in the year 2021, April, and this sparked public outrage and sparked public scrutiny and raised awareness about the country's security.
Straight ahead, we're going to look at the role of investigative journalism in society. The first role, we have justice. Because of investigative journalism, we can get justice from high-profile people or governments. For example, in the Spotlight investigation, the priests were arrested and arraigned, and it brought to light the cases and the misconduct that was happening in the Spotlight investigations. We have accountability. Because of investigative journalism, us as journalists get to hold the high people in power or institutions or organizations. We get to hold them accountable, and we give the society we don't get to hold them accountable, but we take the issues and bring them to light to the people in the society who now hold the individuals accountable. We also have transparency. Investigative journalism reveals hidden information, fostering honesty and trust. Good case is the Watergate scandal. Just as President Nixon was coming into his second regime, already the citizens were doubtful of their government. They were not very sure about their trust, and their concerns were true, because a few moments later, 1, 2 years, we had the first president resigning, and that's not something that can just happen any day you wake up. We also have agenda setting. Anytime there's a story in the media of an investigative journalism exposing a scandal, there's always people start talking about it. It ignites the interest of the society for the people towards a certain topic, and it highlights the critical societal issues. Because of investigative journalism, we get to preserve democracy. There's no democracy without investigative journalism. It is vital for democracy's health, and as the fourth estate, checks on power and upholds principles and transparency. We're going to look at the methodology in this section. We look at the research design used and how we focused in-depth analysis and interpretation of data. For this case, we used qualitative analysis for the study because it enables comprehensive examination of events and consequences. Qualitative data provides insight into individuals' experience and motivations because we're not dealing with any numbers or something numerical. We are dealing with certain cases that we have decided to pick out of a variety. There are many cases in the world where we talk about where the issues of scandals and all that have been brought about by investigative journalism, but we're only going to focus on the 5 cases that we have mentioned. And we have chosen this because of its appropriateness in exploring the diverse nature of investigative journalism impact. So from the 5 cases we have chosen, we get to dig deep. We look at the themes that are in comparison. We look at issues that are similar in nature, and if there are any similar trends that cut across the 5 cases. Straight ahead. Okay.
Some of the sources that we use for this data is extensive review on primary sources, materials, like official documents, newspaper articles, books, reports, and archival materials. We used also documentaries and assessing documentaries and online traffic data where applicable. We also looked at feature stories and broadcasted exposes. Examples were the Mara Haste and the Gun Galore. Most of it we retrieved it from documentaries. The final report by Watergate and National Geographic. And we found some of the histories from some of the books. Case studies. In this chapter, we'll dive into the annals of history, expounding on each case we have picked that are relevant to us. Each case study serves as a testament to the spirit of investigative reporters who tirelessly pursue the truth, risking themselves and their lives to hold the mighty accountable on behalf of the society.
In conclusion,
Actually, we're going to rush through the case studies of the scandals. So very fast, the first case we have the Watergate scandal. We're going to, because we need to look at the impact of this case in society, so we need to get the background information of what happened. The Watergate scandal, it unraveled a presidential crisis. This occurred at the Democratic National Committee headquarters in 1972, where that was the headquarters of the Watergate Hotel office complex in Washington, D.C. So we had 5 burglars who were arrested at the headquarters. They were found. They broke in, and they planted the listening devices and the bags in the offices of the Democratic National Committee, but they were caught. And then these burglars who were caught, they were linked to President Nixon's re-election campaign. All of this was happening during the post-Vietnam War and civil rights struggles. And so the journalists Woodward and Bernstein, these are the critical guys who exposed this uncovering. And remember, they got information from whistleblowers who actually are whistleblowers. They were getting anonymous information from the whistleblowers. And it revealed that President Nixon was actually in cahoots with the burglars, and they were, yeah. The next scandal we have, the impact of this scandal, we had the political consequences. President Nixon resigned, and actually, immediately he resigned, we had his successor, who was Gerald Ford. He assumed office, and funny enough, he decided to pardon President Nixon for all his charges. We have the societal impact, the erosion of trust, the widespread public doubt in government institutions. So this enhanced that erosion, because I mentioned previously that before, during the his second re-election, there was already doubt. So the long-term effects, this altered presidency, it changed the presidency and balance of power. We had laws that were put into place, and just because of that, the scandal of President Nixon.
The next one is the Spotlight scandal in Boston. This happened in 2002. And it involved a number of parish Catholic priests who were involved in a sexual scandal. And according to Phil Salvano, one of the victims, he stated that sometimes being singled out by the priest it felt like being singled out by God. And this scandal, it was not an isolated. It started with one case, which involved a priest called John Coogan, and he had 84 cases that were sealed. So one of the journalists decided to go and investigate it, and then they found that it's not an isolated case, that there were several boys who were abused by the priests. And this investigation spanned from 2002 to 2015. And in 2015, they found out that there were 600 cases involving the priest, and 12 priests were found guilty. And then there was also a systematic cover-up involving the priest. If the priest was found guilty, they will take them to another parish. So for a very long time, the Catholic Church, they secretly they failed to hold these priests accountable for their actions. The murder heist.
Quickly, let's take you to the murder heist. This is where a whistleblower came forward and revealed how top officials at Masai Mara University, they were siphoning millions over a period of 3 years. Actually, it was a figurative cumulative amount of about 190 million in just 3 years. This was a circle of about 4 people, which included the vice chancellor of the school, the finance officer, and the vice chancellor's driver, and one other person. So this investigation was aired by Citizen TV and uncovered the fund abuse in the university. These were the key players. The main key player, the main whistleblower, was named Spencer Sankale, who actually came forward himself to the journalists and decided to uncover everything. this Spencer Sankale had, for a period of time, collected the voice calls, messages that he had been exchanging with the culprits and the above mentioned. So he came forward with evidence. That's why we brought about the issue of the ethics in investigative journalism, because to get that particular information, it required some level of secrecy, some level of you need to risk your life because it's not easy. These heists, the cash withdrawals funneled to the Vice Chancellor through her driver. Her driver was the main handler, he was the handler. But the whistleblower who came forward mentioned that he did not have any physical contact with the Vice Chancellor unless through the driver. So, straightforward through the impact of this scandal, we have brought to light how a public institution misappropriates the funds, and the involved parties, we know who the involved parties are. So this kind of case also highlights the importance of whistleblowers in our society. It is a courageous decision for Spencer to expose corruption and collaborative investigation. There was a question in the previous sessions where, or rather, Dr. Ruth mentioned about collaborative journalism. So, we collaborate with the whistleblowers and other members so to protect ourselves and also to have all the information that we need. Straight ahead to the next case that we have the Goldenberg scandal. This was one of the major cases in Kenya which was documented because it involved the government and a person named Patni. They had this Patni had a company which was registered, and they were tendered to supply gold and diamonds to export them from Kenya to the outside countries. And due to this, they were given subsidies by the government in order to maintain the prices, but only to realize later on that these guys were not exporting any gold or any diamonds. All they were doing is collecting the subsidies, which later on had a huge impact on the Kenya's reserve because it drained our sources, it drained our currency, because the government had to keep on paying these guys so as to maintain the prices and maintain business. Lastly, we have another case which was aired previously. I'm sure you all remember this, the guns galore. Actually, Purity Mwambi, I don't think she's in the country because, impact of investigative journalism. She had to run away because of her security. It's not safe. Exposing such a monopoly in such a country, this is a third world country. You need to remember that. Exposing such a monopoly, it's very easy to be killed. And then again, it brings the question of ethical considerations because your safety is at risk. So she chose to expose them. Now she's in hiding because of her safety. The gun galore exposed the police criminal nexus. We have rogue officers within us. So we have the officers who partner with criminals so as to lend out their uniform, to lend out their guns, to lend out ammunition. And later on, the criminals come with their loot and they share it with the police officers. And this, in turn, degrades the policing system in this country. And also, it shows how rotten it is. They revealed, we have Purity Mwambi exposed that pistols were hired for as low as 5,000 and they were sold at 10,000. And if you hire a pistol, you need to go back. When you return the pistol, unarudisha na pesa ya kupea mwenye alikupatia hiyo pistol. An AK-47 was being hired for as low as 10,000 and sold for 80 to 200,000. I mean, if you are in the political class in this country, 80,000 you can get, you have a gun. Even this thugs that 5,000 on a pistol. And that's how rotten our system is, because at the same time you'll go back to the cops and tell them I've been attacked by this and this and this is what has been taken, kumbe ni yako nayo. So, you know, it exposes such and brings to light what rotten society we have and tries to mend it by us. Next slide, please. So as we conclude, we are now going to look at the analysis and conclusions and recommendations.
The Watergate analysis, we see the impact on democracy. It helped in fostering democracy. It showcased the role of free press in holding those in power accountable. For example, Nixon's resignation emphasized that the top officials are subject to the law. It also, its impact on ethical challenges for journalists, protecting sources and balancing source protection with the duty to inform the public. The legal consequences was navigating through potential legal consequences while reporting accurately. The last impact was that the legacy of President Nixon's political career and legacy forever was altered, and the journalists who were involved in revealing this scandal, they were deemed as celebrities. And the spotlight analysis, the media role. So the media helped in exposing the systematic issues in the Catholic Church. It uncovered the widespread sexual abuse within the Catholic Church. It also promoted transparency, and it sparked a global conversation about the accountability of religious institutions. The ethical dilemmas that these journalists faced were the issues of privacy and balancing reporting with respect to survivors' privacy or the victims. Legal complexity, navigating the sensitive topic of legal intricacy. For example, they had to look through 84 cases involving John Coogan, who was the first priest to be found, the first priest who was involved in the misconduct. The Goldenberg analysis. It helped in promoting transparency by exposing corruption. It also led to the discussion on accountability of some institutions like the Goldenberg Institute, which was owned by Hamlesh Patin. It also had a legal impact. Legal action was taken. There was no any legal action that was taken, but it enabled the public to know. It enabled the public to identify some of mishandling by the institution, the Goldenberg Institute. It also empowered the citizen in demanding transparency and accountability. The murder haste. The murder haste exposed corruption. It led to discussion on accountability. These things are repeated, so I will go to the recommendation because of time. One of our recommendations is to build a strategic connection. This will forge a relationship with high-profile organizations. The media should forge a good relationship with high-profile organizations and politicians and influential figures so that they can get cases like, for example, when Spencer Sankale came forward, he was an accountant at the Masai Mara University. And then the second one, ensure journalist protection. Currently, you see that Purity Mwambia is not within the country because of fear of being arrested or even or because of threats.
Invest in investigative journalism. Media houses right now, they don't really support investigative journalism because, it's expensive, it's time-consuming, blah, blah, blah. The returns are not immediate. It's like a business. So we need to invest in investigative journalism and allocate resources, empower media outlets to serve as watchdogs in holding institutions of power accountable, strengthen the role of media in fostering transparency because at the moment, if one exposes a scandal and his life is a threat, then there's no need to do that. But if you have these policies in place to protect such, then everything will be just okay. In conclusion, these cases underscore the indispensable role of investigative journalism in nurturing democracy, advocating transparency, and enforcing accountability. Nevertheless, journalists encounter ethical quandaries and personal risks during their investigative endeavors, as we have seen from all the cases. Actually, the Spencer Sankale from Masai Mara University, after 2 years, he got fired because of far-fetched accusations. But, we both know it's because, we all know it's because of what happened, the whistleblower stuff. So the outcomes vary from legal repercussions to profound societal transformation and empowerment. Despite the hurdles, investigative journalism stands as a pillar of democratic societies, championing transparency and upholding the truth. And as we conclude, a wise man once said, journalism can never be silent. That is its greatest virtue and its greatest fault. It must speak and speak immediately, while the echoes of wonder, the claims of triumph, and the sighs of horror are still in the air. Henry Grunwald, former United States ambassador, diplomat, and journalist. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Calvin and Faith. Kindly let's do better than that. Few announcements. I'd wish our presenters kindly to take at most 10 minutes because we have other presentations. Kindly. Our next presenter is Miss Dorothy Shumila Zalo. She is a music teacher at Moi High School, Kabarak. Dorothy boasts of an impressive teaching career spanning nearly 4 decades. Beyond her role as an educator, she is a retired athlete and accomplished hockey player. Throughout her industrious career, Dorothy has assumed various roles, including that of music director, choir director, and band director. Her professional engagements extend beyond the classroom, encompassing activities such as curriculum development, examination, adjudication, and music mentor, where she nurtures the talent of budding musician. Dorothy is currently pursuing her master's in music education at Kabarak University. She passionately advocates for music education and firmly believes in the transformative power of music. Today, she will grace us with her insights as she presents a paper entitled Ethical Issues in Choral and Orchestral Music Training and Performances. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up to Miss Dorothy.
and at my age, comrades. Good afternoon. Sounds really funny, but you are comrades. I'm happy to be here. It's a wonderful experience. Talking to people who are almost my grandchildren, but it feels really nice. The paper I'm presenting, Ethical Issues in Orchestral and Choral Music. Thank you. Ethical Issues in Orchestral and Choral Music, Training and Performance is actually a paper that I did just as an assignment, and it is still being transformed into a better paper. The reason why talking about this is that out of my experience as a music teacher, a choral director, and interacting with very many musicians in my world as an adjudicator, as an examiner, there are many things that we've come across. I have had a chance of even talking to heads of schools who sometimes say music is very expensive, but in most cases when you dig deeper, you discover that it's all about ethical issues. When we are talking about orchestral and choral music, just go to the next, because I have to really speed up. I hope I'll manage 10 minutes. When we talk about orchestral and choral performance, it is multidimensional and very demanding to the director. It's very intricate, artistic, there's a lot of expression. In a choir alone, you're talking about different voices, you're talking about small choirs, you're talking about small musical ensembles. If it is a band, you're talking about solo performances, you're talking about small ensembles, you're talking about large bands, you're talking about the orchestra. So it's very, very multidimensional and very demanding on the choral and orchestral director. Alan 2019 says that the director is critical in shaping performance. And professional ethics play a major role in directing the performances. And we will say that professional ethics ensure inclusivity. When we are talking about inclusivity and fairness that improves self-esteem, we are looking at, as a choral director, you have to sometimes audition the students before you place them in their voices or before you accept them in a choir. Are you able to include every student or every learner or every performer? Because they have come from different backgrounds, and therefore you must think about them. There are those that have come from urban settings and have been exposed to a certain type of music. You should think about what kind of music that they love. Do you just cater for one group, or must you think about all of them? So it demands that we meet certain obligations, and those obligations, when we are talking about performance, imagine you're a choir director of a choir that has adults. Sometimes there are finances where you have to do compensation. Are you compensating them as it's supposed to be, or are you keeping some of their money and not compensating them? There are those contractual roles that they have to play. The contractual roles may be that you are a member of this group for the next 2 years. How do you ensure that they remain there without you being against them or coming up with a reason of excluding them? Move to the next slide, please. It's good I did some tongue twisting in high school, so I can try my best. Now, we have ethical considerations of music directors. So, music directors I have actually put the choral director and the orchestral director and called them music directors. So music directors have certain ethical responsibilities. I'll give you an example of a school where I taught for a very long time before I came in this direction. I taught there for 12 years, and I used to receive singers who had no idea. They could not even sing the national anthem, but I would accept them the way they were. But in the background, the other members were discriminating against them. So after one holiday, one of the parents came and complained and said, my child is really suffering in that group. And the reason is the others think that she's not keeping up with whatever they're doing. So those are the things that a music director faces. What are you going to do? How are you going to help this performer to fit in that group and at the same time make sure that the standards of that group remain the same? So you are in a dilemma. Do you exclude her because she's not able to do it? And if you exclude her, you will have injured her. And if you keep her there, the other members also feel, why should she be there? So you must find a balance of putting them together so that they all fit in that group. So a choral director, a music director should uphold integrity, credibility. We should ensure fair treatment of musicians and performers. Fair because if there's any form of punishment, how do you punish them? I teach in a high school. If one student comes 5 minutes late today and I punish them and tell them you will not enter in this room, I should be able to do that the next day and the next day and the next week and the next year. Otherwise, if I don't do that, then I'll have failed to be fair. There is we are supposed to nurture positive and inclusive working environments by having open communication. Do you allow the members of the group to give ideas, or do you become the person at the top and don't think about them? So you must accept the different views, discuss, and come up with a solution. Then there is the balance of artistic vision and ethical consideration. So balance artistic vision and ethical considerations. Only this, just recently, I think last month, I adjudicated a church festival. And what I realized is there were several churches, but there were certain members that were performing in every other choir. You know, that is compromising the ethical considerations and wanting to have that artistic value, but it is a lie. You're cheating that this choir is doing very well, and yet the people you're using don't belong to that group. So as a choir director, are you able to balance artistic vision with ethical considerations so that you nurture this performance other than borrowing other performers? You know, when we talk about corruption in this country, musicians don't talk about it, but that is what it is. It is a corrupt way of doing things. Maintaining professional standards in rehearsals. So as a choir director, during the training, there are rehearsals. I'll just read them. Establishing clear communication and expectations. So if I'm going to have rehearsals, have I informed my group that I'll be having rehearsals for 1 hour every day, or is it for 30 minutes, twice a week? And what time is it? Is it between 4 and 5? It must remain that. Respecting musicians' time and efforts. So begin and end on time, because that will give them a lot of trust. Providing constructive feedback and fostering growth. When they have performed, do you have a positive way of encouraging them? Or do you tell them things that discourage them? Because, like I said earlier, you must work on their self-esteem. So do not give comments. I don't know how many of you may have tried to join a choir and somebody tells you your voice cannot even be found on a keyboard. That is a very bad statement. So you need to think about, to include all of them, to accept them, and give just constructive feedback to foster their growth. How have they performed today? How can they improve tomorrow? Then managing conflicts and addressing concerns appropriately. I think the example I gave of the school I taught in at one time, managing conflicts and addressing concerns appropriately. You must manage them immediately. Because if you don't, today, one student will be discriminated upon, next time, another, and then you will have no choir, you will have no orchestral performance. Then promoting collaboration and teamwork among performers. How do you do it? by giving them roles. Let them take leadership roles. You're the one that will take roll call today. You're the one that will pray for us today. Not the same person every day. You must bring all of them together. Then we go to ethical considerations in performance. So in ethical, after you have trained your group, you have rehearsed, and you're ready for performance, you must think about the space where you're going to perform. If you have, for instance, university students or in your choir, are you going to take them to a place where people are taking alcohol and you're taking them for entertainment? That won't work. But there are groups that will go to such places and it will be fine. So select the program, think about your audience. Who are your audience? What kind of music are you selecting? What do you think the audience wants? What is the engagement? Then we have what are their interests? You have to think about that. And their social background. Then we have representation and diversity in programming. So select music for well-known composers as well as those that are not well-known. Do not be biased. If there are any music students inside here, somebody spoke very well yesterday, I followed online, and he was saying we have ignored our African music. Are you able to make a program that will have African music and will have Western music so that your music is not just Mozart and Handel and Bach? Can you come back here and say we also want to have music from Joram and others? I'm just saying, using that as an example, because Joram really enjoys African music. You must also think about copyright and intellectual property rights when you choose your music to perform. Is there any music that has copyright issues? You must go through it and ensure that whatever you're performing is something you have prepared for well. If there is any payment, please pay. In the music circles, people these days screenshot the music and teach the group and go and present it. Are you able to pay for that music? Because today you are the musician, tomorrow you'd like your music to be also paid for. Then I have talked about collaboration, engagements with other artists and organizations. If you are collaborating with anybody, is there any contract you have signed? Keep to that contract. Don't break the contract midstream because it can be a legal issue. Now, your financial and contractual obligations to musicians and stakeholders. There are instances where people sing in groups. I know people who sing in groups and they're supposed to be paid. So if you're the director, is it possible that the head of the institution can trust you like where I am? Can the principal trust me and say, I'm giving you 1 million shillings and it belongs to these singers and I give it to them? Or am I going to decide out of this 1 million, I'll give them 200,000 and keep the rest? So you must think about the financial and contractual obligations to musicians and stakeholders. There is something that normally amuses me. I saw it very many years, and many schools don't do music because of that, where some music teachers, who are also directors, most of them, would actually write down a list, and they're buying a recorder. At that time, a recorder was 400 shillings, 300 or 400 shillings. And then somebody writes to the principal, they're going for 10 recorders from Nairobi, and they're traveling up to 400 kilometers, and they're going to ask for 2 night outs, and they're going to ask for 3,000 per recorder. At that time, a recorder was 400 shillings. So many principals just said, that thing is very expensive, and they did away with music. So a music director must be somebody that can be relied on, because we will wake up the sleeping music in this country. Maintaining ethical standards during performances. The person with the slide doesn't want to give me a minute. Ensuring a safe and respectful performance environment. Had I talked about that? No. Of course, safe and respectful performance environment, I think I've talked about it a little. Make sure that it is safe, it is nice, like here there's a carpet. If I was to dance here and I fell down, I would not have any bruises. So think about that kind of thing. Addressing audience behavior and maintaining decorum. How do you address audience behavior and maintaining decorum? By giving clear targets. We are coming to this hall for a concert, and these are our rules. We will not expect you to come to this hall with any form of drug, with a drink that we don't accept. You say them in a good way, and you must handle those mistakes and unexpected challenges gracefully. Don't be, what do you call those people that bouncers? Don't be a bouncer and start pushing them around. You have to be graceful in the way you do it, with a lot of respect, so that next time you tell them, they'll know this is what this choral director music director stands for. Are you able to manage emergencies and prioritize performers' well-being? In my teaching experience, there choir members that have fallen off the stage. Do you continue conducting a choir just because this choir must win, a festival? Or do you take care of that person that is feeling unwell? You'd rather stop the choir, deal with that person. I'm sure you'll be given another chance. So as a choral director, we expect that. Ethical considerations in recording and broadcasting performances. You must get licenses because it can impact on the reputation of the performance. Recently, you saw, were there 2 schools that were being charged for airing learners' material online, and they're being charged a lot of money. So when you're doing things like recording and broadcasting, you must get licenses. You must, if there are people that are juvenile, you must get permission from their parents. Right now, it is that serious. If I find you, in fact, I'm looking forward to somebody taking a photo of my granddaughter and sharing it online. It's an opportunity to get some 5 million. I'm looking forward to that. And in conclusion, sustaining a high level of professional ethics is paramount for a music director, because it will help other people to wish to join that choral group or the orchestral group. It is complicated to balance art vision, and I think it is important to balance artistic vision and ethical considerations. I think I've given that example. And there's need for dialogue, collaboration, and development of ethical principles and best practices, because it will go a long way in ensuring that you remain relevant. It is important to take action to establish an industry-wide culture and ethical conduct, and ethical principles are important in pursuing excellence in music performance, fostering a supportive and inclusive environment for all that are involved. And my recommendations, as Puromi says, ethical issues, it is important to identify ethical concerns such as wage disparity and compensation. I have hurried through my paper, but one of the things I had brought out is that even as we talk about the music director being ethical, do the stakeholders think about the same? Because right now what is happening in this country, the employed musician is earning less than the part-time musician. So how are we going to come up with the director being ethical if they're not being paid enough, and the people that are coming to support them are being paid more? So implementing clear policies is another recommendation. So there should be clear policies on ethics within choral and orchestral music. Governments should come up with clear policies. What is the expectation of a music director? We should advocate for open dialogue at all levels to allow the group and music directors to always give suggestions on the repertoire of the music they should perform, and even how long the rehearsals should be, not where the rehearsals are extremely long and the members are quietly suffering. Also, increasing education and awareness will also help, because it is going to ensure that an informal choral, an informed choral director will definitely think about the ethical issues, because when you are informed, you also want to take care of your name. When you are informed, very many people know you, and if you make any mistake, it will be all over, and with social media. And then we should allow for the collaboration between performers and directors, so that even performers can have a say. And that marks the end of my presentation. The other slides I had put the references. And thank you very much. That was my maiden presentation anywhere in any university.
Thank you so much, Ms. Dorothy Zalo. Kindly write down your questions. We'll be having a Q&A session right after the presentation. Our next presenter is Wesley Langat. He is an award-winning environmental freelance journalist who feted and won several awards for his efforts, including the first 2022 Africa D4D journalism competition, where he emerged second in Africa. He passionately covered climate change, the environment, wildlife conservation, land restoration, and agriculture. He recently completed a media fellowship at Aga Khan University Graduate School of Media and Communication. Notably, he completed a year-long COVID-19 Stories of Hope project that was founded by the European Union in partnership with the Aga Khan Foundation and the UK government. Wesley has written several articles for local and international media outlets, including The Guardian, Climate Home News, The Epoch Times, and Italian Inside Over, among others. He has also actively participated in various media training programs, such as Restoring Africa's Dryland Journalism Fellowship and the Climate Tracker Sustainable Food Fellowship. Wesley is currently a fourth-year student pursuing a bachelor degree in mass communication at Kabarak University. He is a champion for environmental conservation. He lives by the philosophy of "It is my duty to promote greater environmental responsibility." Kindly, let's welcome Wesley.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lucy, for the amazing introduction. I'm also privileged to stand before you to present this paper, and it's still undergoing some transformation. It's about, next slide, it's about how communication channels influences tree growing and the choices of tree species planted by farmers in Londiane. And why Londiane is because it was recently, the place is just adjacent to the Mau Forest, and it has undergone a lot of land transformation. And initially, the area was populated by the indigenous trees. But when you study at the moment, the indigenous trees has been cleared. That's why I study. Next slide. For part of the literature review, I went through some of the deforestation statistics, and just from the National Forest Resource Assessment, NAFRA, report for 2021 indicate that Kenya tree cover stand at 12.13%. And also for this, the reason why I emphasize on tree cover is because the national strategy for the achieving and the maintaining of 10% tree cover recognize the major role of tree growing as part of enhancing landscape restoration. And because of that, the government has strategized major campaigns. For example, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta has a target of achieving 30 million trees by 2030. And recently, our President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, has set a target to achieving 15 billion trees for the next 10 years. And because of that, communication and campaigns has been the major role is playing the major role to achieving these targets. And most of the players in this are farmers and the communities in Kenya. The purpose of this study is to explore how farmers in Londiane identify and use the preferred communication channels for this information, and also for getting information from these campaigns. Another objective is to identify the links between the choice of communication channels and the selection of tree species planted by farmers. Next. I collected data in 4 villages over a period of 1 month, and I interviewed 10 respondents per village, of which some of them are farmers, youths, and opinion leaders like village elders and women. Also, age and gender was considered during the study, and sources of information, communication channels, and the choice of tree species planted by farmers were some of the information which I targeted to get from these respondents. The collected data was analyzed qualitatively as well as quantitatively via descriptive statistics. I identified that most of the sources of information which respondents use to get information are social media, which are WhatsApp. Most of them are in WhatsApp group and Facebook groups. Majority of them are uses radio, mobile phone, parasas, extension services, and demo sites. Demo sites in this case means places where some of these like players establish a place where they showcase different type of species for farmers to come and plant. And these, such as the nursery, some of these are community nurseries which are established in these areas, and these are where farmers and respondents also get information for their tree growing activities. There is also field days where these farmers are participated in field days, such as, for example, in school demonstration, in school demo sites where they attend and observe some of the activities, and extension services where the people from the, for example, from the forestry or any related offer services to train farmers to give information on tree growing activities. So those are major channels where all these farmers were getting information or are getting information related to tree growing and tree planting. From my findings, the preliminary findings indicate that the respondents above 30 years of age are well informed through radio. These people prefer getting information from the radio and also from the newspapers, let's say the traditional media. Another one is that respondents who normally get informed at the demo site or extension services grow diverse indigenous trees. You find that most of these communities who get information from the demo site, when you go to their farms, you find that most of them have planted indigenous trees than those who get information generally from the media or from the other source of information. Respondents of 35 years of age and below, these are the majority who are in most of the social media groupings and Facebook pages. And what I mean by social media groupings is that you find that there are some groups of youth who have one general call to establish a nursery to earn their livelihood. And they end up forming a WhatsApp group where they share information about different types of how they practices about tree growing and planting activities. So you find that these groups get their information from those WhatsApp group and Facebook pages. Also, you find that most of these people, you find most of them, they tend to prefer growing exotic trees such as blue gum and cypress, as compared to the previous groups who normally get their information through radio or from the demo site, where most of them, they grow indigenous trees. Next. In my conclusion, I established that most of the channels where these people get their information influence the choices of tree species they planted in their farms. Also, respondent interview prefer radio and television as source of tree growing information. Access to information from the study, it also shows that access to information is closely linked to the increase in tree growing activities. Thank you so much.
Sana Wesley, kindly let's appreciate him. Our next presenter is Mr. Fred Wekesa Kusienya. Mr. Fred is an ethnomusicologist, pop music practitioner, dance educator, choreographer, adjudicator, and a lecturer of music at Kabarak University. Fred is an adept music theory educator and has a passion for pop music, where he infuses his creativity into the modern music scene. His musical talent extends to dance education and choreography, where he combines music and movement to create captivating performances. He has previously served as an adjudicator, offering valuable assessment in music-related competition and events such as the Kenya Music Festival. He advocates and mentors the next generation of musicians and music enthusiasts. His dedication to music and education underscores his commitment to the field, making him a valuable asset to the musical community. Fred is currently pursuing his PhD in musicology at Kabarak University. His presentation will focus on the power in lead guitar, exploring Diblob Dibala lead guitar skills. Karibu.
Thank you so much for that colorful introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I hope I'll find some little time to do some demonstrations, because the kind of presentation I have can only be better understood through demonstrations. Now, Diblo Dibala might not be very, very common to the ears of the Z generation. Today, maybe you talk of Nameless, Juakali, Bahati, Masi Masika, Akode, and the like. But those of us who have been here for a while, Diblo Dibala colonized the stage, for lack of a better word, in the 80s. Diblo Dibala, often known as Diblo, is a Congolese soukous musician. He was born in Kisangani. Kisangani is a village in Congo, Brazzaville. While he was young, in teenage, he got to Kinshasa. Just the way you can be born in Mokotio, and when you get to 11, 12, 13, you get to Nairobi. So he got to the Nairobi of Congo, which is Kinshasa, and participated in a talent show and won. When Franco looked at this prodigious young man, he said, "Join my band." To join Franco's band was a prestigious thing. It's not just like the kind of bands we have here. You join today, you leave tomorrow. It had structures. Dibala remained with the group for only a short period, going on to play with Vox Africa, Orchestra Bella, Mamba and Bella Bella, in which he first played with Kanda Bongoman. How many of us know Kanda Bongoman? How many of us have heard about Kanda Bongoman? I'm asking that other group. This one knows. Does anyone know about Kanda Bongoman? Yes. When Kanda Bongoman came here in 1987, those who were big enough understood the story behind her and our late sister. Now, in 1979, he moved to Brussels and in 1981 joined Kanda Bongoman's band in Paris. Their first album, Iole, 1981, I don't know how old you people were, but at least 1981, I'm not so old, but I was in class 2. Diplo became a sought-after session guitarist, working with Pepe Kalle and many other soukous musicians, the way I'm also sought after in this country. Many of you may not know this. So in the mid-1980s, he formed his own band, Loketo, meaning hips. Some of us despise Congolese music for lack of understanding. Because we don't understand then what Pepe Kalle means, we go around saying it means Pepo Kali. That is not what it means. So with singers such as Alus Mabele, a few years later, that band broke up, and in 1990 he formed a new group, Diblo and Machacha, which is still active. Are we there? So when you look at my title, is The Power of Lead Guitar in Rumba Music, exploring Diblo Dibala's guitar skills in selected songs. I'm looking at this term, power. In the context of this presentation, I'm looking at power in terms of what lead guitar does in a rumba music, especially the band. That in this particular arrangement, lead guitar guides the role and defines the identity of most songs in rumba music styles. It is the main element at the nucleus of a musical cell. Some of you think cells are in the body and in biology. In music, we also have cells. So in the nucleus of that particular cell, there is this lead guitar, which when you remove that, the functioning of the cell has a problem. So it is usually definitive and always set a few decibels higher than the rhythm guitar in a typical rumba musical ensemble layout. To achieve this, the guitarist must be of proven experience and competence. If I begin to mimic this, which song is that? Exactly. Thank you. Let's move to another slide if you have it. Now, what were the objectives of this study? Was to establish the tonality that characterized Diblo Dibala's music. The second objective was to determine the playing techniques employed in his guitar performance, exercises or practice, and to establish the structure of Diblo Dibala's music. Now, literature review, the way our keynote speaker put it yesterday, we have paucity of literature. There isn't much literature in this particular area, and for that reason, not much literature was available for expansive and detailed interrogation. However, the related little literature so far consulted reveals that lead guitar espouses the power of genre identity as well as individual style identity, which in our popular music terminology we refer to as a fingerprint. When Diblo Dibala begins to play the guitar for me, I will tell you this is Diblo. When Syrian Benza begins to play, I'll tell you this is Syrian Benza. When Daliki Moko begins, I'll tell you this is Daliki Moko. When Chaku Chaku begins, I will tell you this is Chaku Chaku. When Barossa does it, I will tell you it is Barossa. If it is Saladin, I will tell you this is Saladin. If it is Wekesa, I will tell you this is Wekesa. Kusienya, very good. If it is Michael Ndonye, I will tell you this is Michael Ndonye. So what was the purpose or the significance of this study? Was to augment the literature that is so little. We need to expand it so that we can have a source of reference. Let's build on what is already there so that we can expand it, and also to expose the skills that this guitarist has used so that you and I can tap from it and grow our music skill, vocabulary in our music practice. Now, nothing exists in a vacuum. This site was premised on a theory called phenomenology theory, which is a philosophical and methodological approach that focuses on the study of conscious experience and subjective phenomena. It is subjective because somebody else talking about the same subject will give a different perspective. But this is my perspective, okay? So let's move. We have done about the significance. Now, this is basically an armchair qualitative study. I did analyze musics through a method we call content analysis. Now, content analysis is both a method of data collection as well as a method of data analysis. So my source of data was through content analysis and YouTube. Purposive sampling was employed. I sampled 20 songs that Diblo has had to do guitar across several musicians from Franco, Pepe Kale, Kanda Bogoman, and Alus Mabele. We move. Now, our first objective was to establish the tonality of the songs. Diblo Dibala was a very interesting character. Most of his musics were pitched in a major key. For those of us who do music theory, was pitched in a major key. But Diblo would hardly, in selected songs, stay in the same pitch throughout the piece. Diblo will start in C major and get to transpose to D major, E major, F major, and so on. Diblo Dibala would integrate minor chords within the same piece. Diblo, this minor chord is the one we are referring to as the submedian minor chord in his chord progression, especially a song called Okay, Madam. I'll demonstrate this in a while. Now you can see when you look at this song Extra Ball, which was composed and released 1992, the piece is pitched in C major. The first material is in C. The second episode comes in G major. The third in submedian major, A major. The fourth, supertonic major, which is D major. The next one is the median major, E major. Tonic major to C again, then dominant major, then tonic major. You can see how many steps are those. And this guy is doing this non-stop. Moving from this key, whenever he brings in a new episode, he's doing it in another key. When he comes in with another episode, in another key. Let's move to another song. Now, I don't know, I never did French, I did Bukusu. We are learning Bukusu in our school, but those of you who have done French, please pronounce that name for me. Don't tell me that all of us come from this side of the world. Do you know when you are here, America is this side? West. Oh, great. Okay. Bom tonnerre. So if the song begins in C major, the next episode comes in D major, then submedian A major, supertonic major, and it goes back to C major. That is how this guy was traveling. Move. Now, this is where the gist is. Diblo was combining a number of skills. He was combining applying what we call in popular music language kens. But in music theory, we call them intervals. Something. Thank you. Diplo was doing thirds, sixths, and fourths. When it comes to scales, he was doing heptatonic, hexatonic, and octaves. So he would integrate minor chords within a major tonality. The structure more often is through composed and very intricate riffs. Diplo Dibala never plays, in his recording, he doesn't play dry guitars, the commonly known acoustic guitars. He does electric guitar, and he uses sound effects, sound pedals. I didn't come with one, but this one will give us what we need. So he used delay as a sound effect or echo on the analog platform, not digital like we are doing today. Is there anything remaining? Now, through combo structure exemplified in the following songs: Extra Ball, Okay Madame, Bom Toleres, Lisa L'Espierre, Mondori, and Machacha Wetu. There are so many. And then I want to get to the demonstrations now. Nipigie makofi. I want to demonstrate the fourths, solid, third, sixths, solid, broken or embellished, fifths, mute guitar, the scale, the minor pentatonic, hexatonic, and heptatonic, the arpeggios, scooping of notes, and sound effects. Play octaves like this. Then the fourth come. And he incorporates, he integrates the minor chord Now, when we get to Lisa, there is another song done by Kanda Bongoman where this guy begins with the sixth. Eh? Then the guy brings in fifths, broken. Then he brings in the scale here. Now, when you calculate from mi to la down, what interval is that? Yes. That is a fifth. Yeah, he was combining sixths and fifths. So, then after that, this guy will move here. He comes to the fourth. That was Diplo Dibang. Now, lastly, Diplo did chords. When you look at this piece, the extra ball, it started like this. A chromatic move. Then he comes in with broken Ken. I've just reduced the speed so that it is a learning process, okay? Otherwise, if we move so fast, we may never get what is going on. So, if you want to do anything that Diplo did, then you can see me. I'm just cutting short this presentation because of time. Otherwise, Diplo was a prolific soukous guitarist. I want to believe that he was really temperamental. Like I said somewhere in a certain forum, people wanted to ask to understand why. You could not stand in his way. If you tell him direction, then you part ways. That's why you can see from history, he did not stay with any one band for long. He plays for him Namalizana and he goes. Because he was too creative to remain in the TPOK jazz style of rumba. He was very dynamic. After TPOK jazz, he came, and in the 80s, actually, he's the man behind the soukous guitar. After that, the Seven came in. The Seven came in with the likes of Baroza, Alain Makaba of Wenge Musika, and those are the ones that you people are getting, the people behind us. But for us, we got to the days of the Kent. But you people are getting what we have got. Thank you. If there will be a question, I'll be ready to respond to them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fred Wekesa. Probably I should consider enrolling for a music class after this. Yeah. Our next presenter and our last presenter is Mr. Gabriel Duku Kimani. The lecturer, consummate thespian, and author of the first ever book on sound design in film in East and Central Africa. He is also a researcher of film, theater arts, and music technology. He holds a diploma in film production from Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, a bachelor degree in theater arts and film technology, and a master's in film and theater arts from Kenyatta University. He is currently pursuing a PhD in art and social sciences at the University of Venda in South Africa. Duku also holds other certifications, including copyright law certification from Harvard Law School, curriculum development, implementation, and assessment certification in Basic CBC framework and CBET framework by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development and TVET CKCC. Duku has previously worked as a cinematographer, sound recordist, director, and photographer in programs such as Career 254, Classmates, Hotbed of Talent, and short film like Illegal Pulse, Ping Pong Luxury, Dog Year 15, and documentaries like History of KNDF and the Festival Press for the Kenya National Drama Festival. Duku has amassed 12 years of lecturing at Kenya Institute of Mass Communication, Kenyatta University, KCA University, USIU Africa, Kenya Film School, Nairobi Institute of Music and Performing Arts, and Kabarak University. He has also contributed immensely to the education sector by consulting and developing more than 15 curricula spanning music, journalism, film, theater, media technology, and poetry curricula at the CBC, TVET, and university levels. Duku has a deep passion for the creative economy and has been a facilitator and lead consultant in many workshops and working Duku has a deep passion for the creative economy and has been a facilitator and lead consultant in many workshops and working committees toward the development of an enhanced symbiosis between industry and academy. As such, he serves as the chairperson of the Sector Skill Advisory Committee under TVET CDACC and Kenya Cultural Center. Duku operating mantra is Africa must tell her story, including the unpleasant part of the plot. Kindly, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for Gabriel Duku Kimani. Welcome.
Thank you. That was quite colorful. So, I'm here today to ponder with us on this question of industrial attachment in performing arts courses in Kenya. I have had the privilege of coordinating industrial attachment in the School of Music, rather the Department of Music and Performing Arts, and as it were in the beginning, the School of Music and Performing Arts. And I have had interesting lessons during that period. And to begin with, I would want us to ponder on just the idea of attachment. What is it? It is, a formal placement of you as a learner or a trainee within a specific sector, industry, workplace, in partial fulfillment of the program that you're pursuing. If it is journalism, whatever program that you pursue, then you go to a place within the industry and you are expected to perform duties that would indicate that you have indeed acquired knowledge, skills, and attitudes that are requisite for a worker within your sector. It is important to note that industrial attachment is a continuum in the development of skills, knowledge, and attitudes, and also ethics. So it is not a tail end of something, it is a continuum. So it is something that is ingrained within the curriculum for purposes of developing your skills even further as a trainee. The other thing is that for that reason, industrial attachment must be accorded its requisite space and due importance from curriculum development and at the implementation level. Now, in its conventional definition, industrial attachment is used interchangeably with internship, though it is treated differently in different sectors. When I talk about that, I mean, if you go to the legal sector, they have what they call pupillage. If you go to the education sector, they have what they call TP, teaching practice. If you go to medicine, they do two things. They have attachment and they also have internship. But in between, they have what they call the hospital rounds, okay? And all that is within that framework of attachment. We can proceed. So what are the pillars of industrial attachment? And even if I don't say anything else, this is the place that we would want to stick on. The pillars of industrial attachment, this is what makes it stand. One, hands-on experience, okay? So going for industrial attachment, and I'm happy Mr. Mbati is here, when someone is going for industrial attachment, what they are going for is hands-on experience. And that this slide will influence many others. Hands-on experience, so that means they are going to get a feel of how the industry will accept them as workers. So if you have been training to be a journalist, it is expected that, journalism has various facets in which you can be able to function. You can be a photojournalist, you can be a cameraman in a TV station, you can be a reporter, you can be a news anchor, you can be an editor, you can be any of those things, you can be a radio presenter. All those are facets of journalism. So in terms of hands-on experience, what is required of you when you go on attachment? The other thing is skill development. Remember, you're still in school, so you're still developing these skills. So are we taking you out there as a fully baked journalist, or are we taking you there to continue learning to be a journalist? Professional networking, I think that is self-explanatory. You go out there so that you can meet other people. And that will lead to another question. Does it then make sense if we attach you in Kabarak? Moving on swiftly, before we answer that question, we also go to do observation and learning. So observation and learning is based on the idea of mentorship. So if Mr. Mbatia is your teacher in radio production, then you're supposed to go on attachment where you're supposed to go and network and then observe other people at work, and you're also able to learn. Then is it good enough that you remain here and continue observing Mr. Mbatia that you've been observing for the last 2 years? Professionalism and workplace etiquette. When you go on attachment, you're going to a workplace. What in the language of TVET we call the on-job or on-the-job or off-site learning, right? So when we're talking about professionalism and workplace etiquette, for instance, getting there on time, okay? Punctuality, issues of interpersonal communication. Sometimes in the experience of coordinating attachment, you've gotten to a space where you go to assess a student and you're told, no, this guy shows up when they want. This guy will, you'll call them and ask them, where are you? And then they'll tell you, I decided to go for an eye checkup. You know, does nipatie hiyo nini? Okay, okay. Do you understand how to communicate, for example? Do you know even how to write a letter or an email to your boss and address them properly, as it were? Feedback and evaluation. Good people, and this one I want to speak to you as trainers. It is during attachment that we are able to get proper feedback if our training is sound, if our curriculum is responsive to the industry. So when our student goes out on attachment, sisi ndo tuko exam. We are now sitting for an exam because now we are being evaluated by the industry if we are indeed delivering on what we are saying we are delivering. The other thing is career exploration. I will do a quick, just a quick survey. Glory. Anyway, I'll start from that side with the hijab. Not the yellow hijab, the cream hijab. I'm not sure that is cream. You can correct me on colors, but I want to ask you a question. You're in which year? First year. Very good. So now, what course are you taking?
Mass communication.
Mass communication. So, what is your career target? What do you want to become after taking that degree in mass communication?
News reporter.
News reporter. Why news reporter?
It's my passion.
It's your passion. What, apart from passion, what else encourages you? Have someone told you have a good voice? There are other discoveries that you have made so far?
A role model.
A role model. Interesting. Now, good people, sometimes we come to the university, especially during the 844 system and where we are. You find people come and join the university, but they cannot tell you what it is that they are targeting to do at the end of the course. I don't see a music student. Give that man a mic. Patrick.
Yes.
I have asked a question. You, at least you're now in fourth year, but tell me, what is your career, where do you want, what career do you want to explore? Don't tell me musician.
Either a film scorer or a music performer or a music composer.
A music composer, a film scorer, or a music performer.
Yes.
A music composer can be rolled into a film scorer. Let's just put them into two. Music performer and so far, where are you in terms of that career development?
Not there yet, but I'm improving. Like, I've gotten the experience from, I'm getting to learn more about what it is that I want to do and like what will be needed from me eventually.
Have you managed, as we are right now, to score for any film or have a composition or perform anywhere?
I've performed in orchestras in Nairobi. I've not had a score or my own score be performed, but I've had arrangements that I've done that are being performed in orchestras. Yeah.
So, Patrick, sorry to stick with you. When you came here as a first year, did you know what you know now? Would you have answered my question the same way?
No.
What assisted you to get there?
I think the experience.
The experience.
Yeah.
Now, good people, the shortcut to what experience is talking about is industrial attachment. It is during industrial attachment that these people get to actually know what is possible. I once went to assess a journalism student from Kabarak in Mombasa. And when I met this student, I asked a few questions and I learned that she was doing reporting, and I asked her, do you like it? And she told me it's not very pleasant. She doesn't really like it. I asked her why. Because you have to go out there, then you're asking people for their views. Some people are rude and all that, and You know, so if this person maybe from the beginning had targeted to become a news reporter, then maybe that could have changed. So it is during attachment, we can proceed. It is during attachment that these things are discovered. I think we'll move faster after this. Now, who are the stakeholders? The stakeholders, number one, is the learner. I have used the language of theater. It's the protagonist. So everything must revolve around the learner. Then we have the industry. This is the core main protagonist. So these two must relate and must exist. The other is the institution. The institution is a supporting main character. They are not involved in the, they can only assist, okay, for these two to meet, but they are not involved in the middle. The other is the parent. The parent is a supporting character as a facilitator, right? Unapeana fare, provide accommodation and all those other things, pay school fees. Now, and then we have the regulator. Now, in our sector, in the arts sector, our regulators don't seem to realize that we are running professions. At least in journalism, we have like the Media Council that is trying to do something, okay? Or, and the other guilds, the Editors Guild, the KUJ and the rest, they're trying to contribute to the debate. But in our arts sector, we have a challenge. We can proceed. Now, how do we run this attachment? One, pre-attachment preparation. The first thing there is syllabus coverage. We cannot, good people, take a student to go out for attachment if they have not satisfied the examiner up to the point where attachment comes. Okay? Syllabus must be covered and covered adequately, and the student must have satisfied the examiner. So you're taking someone to KTN for attachment, but alipata F kwa unit ya camera. Akienda apewe camera, how do you expect them to perform? You have read about me, utaipata ChatGPT. Not with that exact precision of my achievements. Right? It will just tell you generalities. What it will do, because you have said Thuku Kimani, who is a professional in the area of creative economy, now it will start throwing terminologies on mambo ya creative economy to make it sound very lofty. But in terms of specificity, nothing. So we need to develop, Dr. Ndonye, I think it is important that we have a course. At the TVET level, we pushed, and they have a course called employability skills. Maybe we need to have one in the university. Employability skills. How can you function as a potential employee? How many people here have a LinkedIn account? How wengine ni wa TikTok? Anyway, you see, the beauty of LinkedIn is that it is tailored for someone who either wants to engage with the industry in terms of being a worker, or someone who wants to be an employer, or someone who wants to consult. It offers that. And the beauty of LinkedIn, you upload your information, and then you can download it out as a CV. Or go to Europass. Europass, you upload your information, inatoka kama CV, a very beautiful one. So teaching them soft skills, even how to write a letter. Okay? So that usiandikiwe barua Dr. Ndonye by a very brilliant camera student. Instead of writing dear sir, they write hi sir. Or because wanataka shortcut in the, if you don't know the gender of the one you're writing to, dear sir stroke madam, wanaandika dear Saddam. So it is very important, na hapo nita emphasize soft skills. We need to give them to this student. I don't know, kama engagements with the industry, let us have partnerships. Okay? Just sign MOUs that allow us to take our students for attachment. There are institutions that are very privileged. Kitu kama KMC. They are called by TV stations and radio stations. We have 10 spaces tuletee wanafunzi. Why? Partnerships. Now, I have, in my experience with DMPA, I have engaged with institutions and we have gotten to that point. And one that made me so happy was NYS Gilgil. When I started talking to them, waliniambia, no, we don't take civilians. Right now, good people, they are telling me, we need like 6 people. But now, what we need to do is now put pen to paper. Why? Because Thuku is here for a moment. Dr. Ndonye is here for a moment. We need to develop relationships that will outlive people and will continue with institutions. So that if Mr. Mbatia takes over from Dr. Ndonye, they will continue where Dr. Ndonye stops with that institution. Now, payment of required fees, psychological preparation, some of these people are not ready when they are going for attachment. Mtu anafikirianga huko sasa naenda bash. Sasa pressure za Dr. Ndonye, na Dr. Ruth and Mr. Mbatia, they are no longer there. Anafika huko anapata pressure ingine. Ana collapse. We need to prepare them early to understand what is there out there for them. And finally, choice of appropriate attachment sites. Move. Now, I will run this very fast. How do we conduct attachment, the process? We have provision of recommendations and referrals. We need to do this. You guys, if you want Mr. Mbatia to be your referee in your CV, go to him and request. Sipigiwe simu naambiwa, we are calling you about Salma Abdullahi, and you're there wondering, do I know someone by that name? First of all, confirm he can say a good thing about you. No, for real. Utakuwa umempatia chance ya kukulima tu. So, the other thing is provision of record and assessment tools. We must have somewhere where they'll record their portfolios. We are used to giving them logbooks, but it should not end there. We should have a provision for portfolios because when they go out there, we say it's skill development. So, what is the provision for that? If she goes out there, alafu afanye a news item, do you have provision somewhere to receive it? Ama atakuja tu, ikuwe tu kwa logbook somewhere aliandika tu just a sentence, I participated in a newscast. Now, the other thing is familiarization and assessment visits. We must also go to those places and know where it is. And I really like the way the Department of Mass Comm does it. Then internal and external supervision. Do you allow that person supervising them in the field to give marks? Or are you the one who writes the marks? The way our documentation is tailored, it is us who give the marks. But who spends more time with that student? It is that person out there. Then why not allow that person to actually grade them? The other thing is conduct, control, and reporting. It is important that these students behave well, so there must be channels to report in case there's a mishap. And the other thing is period and activities on attachment. Do we have it cast in stone? Ama huyu ataenda 6 weeks, ule 8 weeks, ule 12, ule 16. Do we have a way of dealing with that? The other thing is final assessment and grading. We can move. So finally, when these people come back, we must do a debriefing and adjustment. Kama sasa Pato pengine alienda akidhani atakuwa maybe a music producer. Industry ikamramba akarudi akisema anataka kukuwa performer. So do we allow them to adjust? I'll tell you, from the Department of Music, I've gone to assess students, and someone has discovered out there that the skills they have are not relevant for for the industry. For real. He can tell you. There is someone who left here as the best violinist. Akaenda huko nje, akaambiwa sisi tunataka kulearn tuba. Ibidi aeke violini yake kando and learn the tuba first so that he can deliver. Kuna mwingine alienda, very good saxophonist, amefika huko nje anaambiwa guitar. Another one went to the studio, very good violinist. But in the studio, what is required? Keyboard skills. And this person asked me, nikirudi shule naweza change instrument yangu ikuwe sasa piano. Nikamwambia hata si piano shida yako, ni keyboard. So do we allow them to adjust when they come back? If that dear student goes, sasa hii mambo ya news reporter, change. Aseme sasa anataka kukua editor. Do you allow them to explore that some more? The other thing is, does the timing allow them to apply what they have gathered from the field and in the final projects and courses? So when do they go for attachment? Mr. Mbatia, when wanaenda 3.2? So does that allow them to have enough time to adjust? Maybe those are questions that can be answered at the curriculum level. The other thing is that the institution should continually update its database on industry players and internship opportunities. Stop sending them to, those funny places where they get harassed. Metuma kasichana huko kanaenda kanaharasiwa. Bado next semester you still want to send another one there. Let us continually update our database, move. So this is work in progress. So I did a small case of Kabarak and looked at some of our music students and the conduct out there. Now, we can move to the next thing. Now, some of the things I looked at is, is what these programs and the number of students who had gone, a total of 23, certificate was 7, diploma 5, bachelors 11, you can move. Now, some of these students, you can see this is the specialty. Okay, in terms of specialty, some of them are doing theory and composition, that's 39%. Certificate is a general course, 31%. Those ones who are, bachelors in music production, 9. Diploma in music, then diploma in theater, 4%. You can move. So where did these people go for attachment? And you have seen those different courses, right? Now, they went to learning institutions. And it will be very interesting to look at the percentage. Now, others went to theater performance spaces. Clearly, theater students. Others went to sound recording students, to studios. Others went to church. Others went to music intervention centers. Others went to colleges or, TVET institutions. Some remained at Kabarak University. Some went to event companies and others went to musical bands. Teremka? Teremka? Now, if you look at that percentage, those ones who went to Kabarak, 8%. Musical bands, 4%. Corporate, 4%. Music therapy centers, 4%. Churches, 9%. Music studios, 38%. Colleges, 8%. Now, and Rudy back? Learning institutions, 21%. Now, learning institutions in basic, high school, primary. Now, are we training teachers? When you look at that data, it tells you something. That we have more people who are going to teach. So, does that mean we should now include pedagogy courses? The other thing is music therapy centers. That is very significant. Because that is another area of music for intervention and, applied music. Have we put an effort to include that in the curriculum? The other thing is colleges. If you put together colleges and these other learning institutions, you have 29%. That tells you a very significant third of your population wants to go and teach. Mwalimu here has accommodated one of our students. So that tells you that we need to have a proper review. And then there are those ones who are in Kabarak University. I will question this. Is it viable to have students still roaming the same corridors they've been roaming for 3 years? It doesn't matter how much you like that student. It doesn't matter how productive you think that student is. Kusema tu ile ukweli, mbele ya Mungu, we are just using that student. We are not empowering that student. Aende huko nje. Let's move. The other thing is, because I've told you this is a work in progress, I will end with questions and not recommendations. One, what is the ideal situation in the conduct of attachment? This is in terms of what is the best timing for attachment. Is it 3.2? Is it 4.2? Is it 2.2? When is a student ready to go and get shock therapy out there? And then how many times should we conduct this attachment? Is it once or twice? Okay? The other thing is where they go for attachment. Is it that we should change, for example, kama in music, is it that tuwakataze waende kukosa kwenda kwa shule, or do we change our curriculum to fit the situation of them going to schools? The second question, if a student gets a job based on the attachment, how do we deal with the situation? Many a times, institutions where students are attached have called me to ask me, is it possible that you guys make an arrangement, you know, for this student to do part-time as they work with us? What is the ideal situation? Should they just come back here and, you know, forgo that opportunity, come back here and learn a masomo? Or should we make provision to allow them to explore that opportunity? Food for thought. Finally, which way between industrial attachment versus post-study internship? Between hiyo yenye tunafanya hapo katikati and that final one, where now you are imagining that you have fully baked this student, which one is better? Do we have both? Do we have one? And which one? Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Now we've reached the end of our presentations. We can now, the Q&A forum now is open. Anyone with a question? Before you maybe think of that question that you want to ask, I'd like to share my sentiment. You know, I went for attachment last semester. I wasn't on session. So I was attached at Royal Media Services, to be precise, Inoro TV. And what I can say is that those supervisors sometimes, for us who are going for attachment, then coming back, they usually consider, like there's this supervisor that tulijuana and asked me if I'm done with school. Nikamwambia I'm not yet done. And there was an opportunity there already. They needed a presenter and I was going there to learn and stuff. So it's something that you as lecturer should consider, because sometimes such opportunities was zinatupita tu hivyo. Just a recommendation. Anyone with a question, please?
Thank you, Gabriel, for a wonderful presentation on attachment. It's also been an area that I've been taking care of in our department. I'm happy to see that you've captured some very good insights. One particularly being the need of post-attachment review. We need to sit, even as academic, the faculty, and see what happened after. What are the feedback? What are the students saying? What is the industry seeing? You know, we must have a post attachment analysis, analyze what happened, how can we best improve, what are the comments. I'm happy that we have a tool that is effective to capture the host supervisors, comments, to capture the students' comments. But should we just have these and store them? Or we need time to sit and consider what has been done, consider the students' ideas, and and see how those can be integrated. Of course, to just maybe answer Lucy, I know there's a reason why you go at 3.2, and we allow you to come back. And we know still there's an opportunity to go for post. Once you're done with your school, again, you can go. It has its advantages to come back, because you also bring your experiences and share your insight with those that are behind you. But I'm happy, and thank you, Mr. Gabriel, for your presentation. Now, let me just ask a quick question to Mr. Wekesa. And I'm not in music, and I'm not seeing many musicians here, but there's one behind there. Maybe, and Daktari is here. I stand to be corrected, eh? Oh, they are musicians also. Okay, good. Okay. So, I'm a bit green in music, but I've observed that African music, and I know you're a specialist in African music, in the way they major in the majors, if I'm correct, and talk about keys. Sometimes you see them revolving about, like what Dr. Ndonya was showing us yesterday. If you, let's say, take Mugithi, I don't know which scope it belongs or which genre it is, but you realize Benga. So they would revolve between two keys, if I'm using that term correctly. Maybe A, G, and C, G, and C, and then, so they usually go between 2 and sometimes 3. I also observed in what you were presenting, and basically are majors, as opposed to, the 145, yeah, as opposed to what we see in Western music, and they would combine so many keys, minors in it, such that if you have mastered to play African, let's say I play guitar or keyboard in the church, but if I've mastered the African tradition way, and then a hymn is placed there, I will do nothing. So what could be the reason? Maybe you could respond.
Okay, thank you. Check. Thank you, Mr. Mbatia. Thank you once again for that question. The question you have asked lies under pop music studies or music idioms in this country. And popular music in this country has a history. Back in the days of World War I and II, the war returning veterans came with musical influences from around the world. But there is this one guy called Ja Wabayeke. In Kenya, we call him Jean Bosco Wabayeke and Edward Masengo, the Congolese guitarists who, in the early 60s, came to this country and introduced the finger-picking style, which was informed by the chord progression of the rumba. So when they came and introduced it here, they influenced the practices of popular music to adapt to the 3 keys. That is the explanation. But in the traditional setting, our musics don't quite conform to the major tonality, as it were. If we go folk, you'll find most of our musics can end on a re. It's complex. It's something you cannot put a fixed answer. So this is an influence from Congo and other music traditions. I agree with you that most idioms around the world, like rock, jazz, blues, do not operate on the principle of code 1, 4, and 5. And that is a characteristic that defines those genres and make a distinction between those genres from others. So Benga music and rumba will most of the time operate in 1, 4, and 5, and they are mostly majors. However, when you get to Isiolo and get the Borana, the Somali, around that place, my friend, they have a certain way of tuning their guitars that does not conform to the British or the American style of tuning. They will tune that guitar according to the traditional scale that I've also never come across until I went there. You get to Javanese music, they have their own scales that are not this, and they have guitar with them. So it is just good. It's something we can discuss. We are open for discussion. Mugithi is Benga. And Amon said something yesterday that Kenyan music is regional. That's why we don't have actually identity, a common identity for our musics. We can only talk about our musics in terms of the region and the language, which is ethnic based. Code 145 is an influence from rumba by Jean Bosco Mwendwa Wabayeke and Edward Masengo. Thank you.
To add to that, you realize the way I'm not a musician per se, I'm just a person who learns just naturally. But I've realized Mugithi has the simplest beats. In fact, some of the songs they only use 2. They don't go through the progression 1, 4, 5, either back or forth. So they can just use 2 beats. And then, that is very complex to a Western musician. So when you go to Kamba Benga, you cannot fight 2. They are a bit complex. That is why Mr. Wekesa is saying, it depends with the region. Mugithi is simple. It can use as much as only 1. Actually, I know 1 song you can just sing with 1, and you move. So, but if you now you go to more complex Bengas, like now the Luo Ohangla, the Luya, the Kalenjin, the beats are many. So it can be so complex even to learn.
Thank you. Maybe any other questions from participants? Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Tuku and Mr. Fred, for your presentation. Of course, mine is not a question. No? For the attachment, I think it is good. We've always received very positive feedback, and of course, maybe the cost implication would arise, because ideally, the essence of having them at 3.2 is to enable them again to go to the field. If they feel there is something that they have not mastered, they have a chance to redeem themselves with the assistance of their lecturers and the laboratories that are available so that they can hone other skills. But if possible, then we can advocate for maybe pre and post, but again, look at the cost factor. So I think that is an area which we need just to sit down and polish and see. Now, with regards to the other presentation, I think that I enjoyed. You indeed demonstrated your prowess as a guitarist, and I think it was quite encouraging. I teach music journalism, and of course, Tonga can attend, I can invite you one of the days at least to, as a guest lecturer in that particular class. Thank you.
Sorry, are you Nancy?
Lucy.
Lucy, thank you, Lucy. About post. What is the word? Post?
Post-attachment, yeah.
I'll firmly discourage that. Experience, Lucy, you can take me to court. Madam, I will seriously oppose post-attachment for the following one reason. When we take you out there, we are exposing you to the real work environment. And the way Malim has put it, when you come back, we want to find out whether any learning has taken place. We only say learning has taken place when there is change, positive change in behavior and attitude of the learner. I can put to you without fear of contradiction that not much positive change has been realized among a good number of you when you come back from attachment. The same behavior you exhibited before you went, we are seeing them. Oh, come here at 8. Oh, Mwalimu will not be there. You are supposed to do this. Oh, you know what. So, that is what we now need to polish. So that when you go, we are sure this one is dealt with. Assuming when you go post, you will go with all that dirt to the industry. So we feel you are not industry ready to go at post. I'm sorry if I've injured you, but from experience, I'll be the last to advocate for post because a few of you will embarrass us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I also have another question maybe I should ask. What are the plans that the school has for us students who maybe can go out there for attachment and get jobs? Will you be able to accommodate us as journalists? For instance, I get a job that requires me to be a host, maybe from Ashoya, from 6 to 10, and it's in Nairobi. How will I be able to maybe be in school and also do the job? And especially when I'm government sponsored. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think there are, of course, there are two things. There is the policy that can work on that. As we speak, Ngure, Sindio, do you still do the show at Egerton? Yeah, because for them, actually, when I went there, they requested me that when he comes back, he can be going for a show, but not on a weekday. You understand? On a Saturday, on a Sunday, that is okay. That is something you can do. But policy may not allow you, maybe during the weekday, when you are supposed to be taking classes, you are not supposed to be out. Yeah, but those are some of the things we meet, but they are not very common. Even the issue of some people wanting to retain you, it is not very common. And if they want to retain you and you are still a student, know that you are being exploited because they will not pay you. And even if they do, they will pay you little money knowing that you are not yet ripe for employment, even illegally. Yeah.
Okay. Just to add on what Dr. says, one, we're proud of our students and especially your group. A good majority of you did exemplary. And like Mr. Wakesa has alluded to, the reason you come back, we want to see a positive change. And we can see even what you're doing shows that you went out there and did something. But then you are young, I don't think there's need to have a rush. You don't need to be in a hurry. Just finish the course. These jobs are waiting for you. Immediately you are done, there are more opportunities, even much better opportunities. But of course, the course is important to complete the course. But thank you so much for raising those pertinent issues. Okay?
We have a question there. Kindly go help.
It's not much of a question, but it's just something that I've seen working is, especially in music students, a lot of third-year music students who leave and come back get jobs or get some kind of employment. You can have a gentleman's agreement with your lecturers to maybe have your classes spaced so that you have free time. Because that, I've seen in sometimes can work. Because if you have your classes from Monday to Wednesday, you still have maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you have those 4 days, you can do work. You go do extra work, that it's like you're doing work for 7 days. So like they're still happy with you, even though you're not there all the time. Yeah, so I think that also can work. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other question?
So for me, on the same issue that you've raised, I believe I'm the least experienced among our elders here, and with the little experience and wisdom that I've got, I believe you need to have faith in God, and two, if you have faith and you are good for the industry, or you are good enough, then even after school you'll still have your job. That's my school of thought.
Hey, school of thought, all right. With that, we've reached the end of our presentations on the 13th International Research Conference for the School of Music and Media, whereby our theme for this conference was mainstreaming music, film, media, and other performing arts for social development. I've been your moderator, Lucy Mushoki. I'd like to invite Mr. Mbatia to continue with the program. Thank you.
Lucy, she's done a wonderful job, and time is far much gone, but thank you so much for being there until the end, giving an opportunity for presenters. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite Mr. Eric Ocheng, who's one of the faculty members, to give a vote of thanks and pray as we close this ceremony. Okay, karibu.
Thank you very much. Let's appreciate Mr. Mbatia. Now, before I give a vote of thanks, let me invite Mr. Fred. He has 2 announcements to put across.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who may have not known me, my name is Fred Wekesa Kusienya. Kusienya, for your information, you know what it means. Yes, I have 2 announcements to make. All those who managed to make their presentations today and even yesterday, please compile your full papers. Full, camera ready, not exceeding 9 pages, and send them to me latest Friday this week through fredwekes@kabarak.s.ke. Those who made presentations in this particular conference, please compile your full papers and send them to me. 2, all those who have made presentations in this particular conference, you are supposed to pay 5,000 shillings for paper presentation. If I did not reach you through your email, please see me so that I can give you bank details and M-Pesa details through which you can make the payments. So for Kabarak University undergraduate, I'm just communicating information from the directorate. We are supposed to pay 1,000 shillings for paper presentation, and your paper will be published. I'm really encouraged by our students from MASCOM for the bold step they took to make their papers. I'm really encouraged. So please, if you haven't gotten anything clear, my number is 0722 38 18 48. You can reach me for more clarification. Thank you. It has been nice. God bless you.
Thank you. I know we are very tired after 2 days' work, but I want to believe, Fred, I stand corrected. I want to believe the 5,000 is not for the students. I think it's subsidized. Maybe you can find out. Yeah, students 1,000. So that's right, per paper. Yes. Oh, that's okay. So at least for more clarification, you can see Mr. Fred. So, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of our Dean, Professor Wanyama, I want just to register our sincere appreciation to our management, headed by our VC, for gracing this 13th International Conference in the School of Music and Media. It has been 2 days of rigorous, enriching presentation, beginning with our leader or our guest speaker yesterday, and it was quite encouraging. I know for today, for me, I missed the better part of morning due to other engagements, but I've been stuck with you for the better part of the day. So my name, as you've been told, is Evans Eric Ochieng. I was not able to present in this year conference, but I've listened, I've loved, I marveled at the presentation from both our students. It's quite encouraging that the spirit is about mentoring. And by the way, for mass communication, the students that are presented, these are undergraduate and diploma students, not even a master student. So our diploma and bachelor students, it is really quite encouraging. We just need to continue and even to make it better come next year when we shall be having our 14th conference. I also want to register our appreciation sincerely to our students. Students, you've made us happy. You've stuck, especially those who are still with us and those online. You've sacrificed. It is worth, and I want to believe you've seen the presentation, the performances. I think it's worth your time. Is that the case? And please also be encouraged to also present something in the subsequent conference. I also want to register appreciation to the technical team headed by Mr. Mbatia. We have Kina Robinson, Kina John Maingi, the sound technicians. We are really grateful for your services, and may just God reward you abundantly. I also want to appreciate the catering department. When we were thirsty, they quenched our thirst. We've eaten nice food, and I want to believe there is some tea. Yeah, I think there is some tea that we'll be able to take after this, after the final prayer. So we also want to thank them for taking care of our welfare. And I also want to sincerely appreciate the Directorate of Research. They have done a wonderful work, helping, organizing for this conference in conjunction with one Mr. Fred Wekesa Kusienya, our research representative from the School of Music and Media. You have really done us proud, and may you just continue. Don't relent. I know there are several messages that you kept sending for us on the wall at times when there are no feedback. Of course, silence is also feedback, right, in mass communication. You never gave up, and you still pushed until we've actually succeeded for the 2-day conference. May just God reward you. So for any other person who has been involved directly or indirectly and have not mentioned you, I just feel that we really appreciate the efforts that you've done, and may our Almighty God just bless you. So I just want us to pray. I'll ask all of us just to stand. We do a closing prayer. I'll also pray for the tea. and then we can leave. Shall we pray? Heavenly Master, we come before you this afternoon with our hearts full of gratitude. We thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for this, for our Father. Father, we love you. You've taken care of us for the 2 days event. Our conference has been a success. You are here to tell a success story. The papers that have been presented here, they've been quite enriching, very informative, and we've discussed and, of course, learned quite a great deal in these 2 days. Dear Lord, as we depart from this meeting, may you give us journey mercies to our various destinations. And we also pray for a cup of tea that is before us. May you sanctify it. May you bless it before we take it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. God bless you.
Let's meet next year in the next conference. Thank you. There is time for everything. Kuliko uweze upewe job na unaambiwa rudi shule.
It becomes a cognitive burden on part of the student.
That is the